Corporate culture often tells you to bring your authentic self to work. We are told to let our guards down and show our true colors. But in a high-stakes environment, this transparency is an active liability. When we operate from this authentic place, our focus naturally pulls inward. We center our own frustrations, our personal problems, and a constant internal loop of what's happening to us. It's a mindset that prioritizes the me over the mission. Elite operators, like the U.S. Secret Service, recognize that this ego-driven state prevents a team from functioning. They are trained to leave that self at the door, ensuring their personal feelings never interfere with their objective. Professional power is not found in sharing your feelings. It is found in the discipline of a controlled, competent, and highly empathetic professional mask. Former Secret Service agent Evy Poumpouras built her career on this detachment. In one case, she was tasked with interrogating a 16-year-old suspect accused of a horrific crime against a 3-year-old girl. Had she brought her authentic self into that room, she would have signaled her own disgust or rage. Even a slight hint of judgment would have caused the suspect to immediately shut down. Instead, she deployed the professional mask, acting as a cold, neutral slate. By showing no emotion, she neutralized the room and made it a safe space for the suspect to keep talking. That detachment worked. It allowed her to guide the conversation for hours until she extracted a full, legally binding confession. By stripping away your own emotional noise, you gain the tactical advantage required to navigate the situation. You stop reacting to their energy and start controlling the outcome of the room. This neutrality allows you to hear the signals that others miss. In many investigations, this starts by having subjects write out a physical statement of their version of events. Poumpouras used this method in a case involving an infant with a broken arm. Investigators had narrowed the suspects down to 2 people, the baby's father and the nanny. The nanny's statement was a wall of personal noise. She spent pages describing her stressful morning, her frustrations as a single mother, and how much she was struggling with the baby's crying. But tucked away in the middle of her story was one specific sentence. She wrote, "I gave the baby Tylenol and it went quiet." Consider that phrasing. Most people do not refer to a human infant as it, and they rarely describe a baby as having went quiet, words that create a chilling distance between the speaker and the victim. To gather true intelligence, you have to look past the emotional narrative a person tries to sell you and dissect the precise words they use to justify their behavior. Outside of criminal cases, you'll see people use these same emotional strategies. When faced with accountability or a difficult question, many deploy emotion as a tactical shield. Sudden tears or aggressive reactants, like shouting about rights, are often deliberate attempts to trigger your guilt and stop a line of inquiry. Elite agents neutralize these maneuvers by refusing to match the emotional energy. They fight strictly with facts. If a citizen escalates, an agent remains calm, reciting the specific legal code, such as Title 18 U.S.C. 3056, that governs the situation. By leading with the law rather than an argument, they maintain total control of the interaction. This discipline is what separates a professional from a soft target. A soft target lacks internal regulation, making life-altering decisions based on temporary spikes of fear. Imagine a man whose relationship ends because he panics and overreacts when a partner mentions she's unsure about children. His internal governor fails, his emotional bathtub overflows, and he loses the ability to think logically. When your emotional regulation is offline, manipulators can easily discover your triggers and use them to dictate your actions. The ultimate danger of leaning into the authentic self is that it can trap you in a permanent identity built around past grievances. Poumpouras once encountered a 9/11 cleanup worker who had covered himself in memorial tattoos and built a shrine to the event, despite only spending 3 days at Ground Zero after the tragedy had passed. His life had become a search for secondary gain. Secondary gain is a psychological addiction to the safety and attention derived from being perceived as a victim. It rewards the individual for remaining broken. Clinging to a trauma this way renders you powerless. You become a result of what happened to you, unable to move forward because your identity now depends on having a perpetrator to point at. To gain real power, you must stop over-psychoanalyzing every personal slight and stop expecting the world to adapt to your emotional state. Accept the iceberg rule. People's fundamental natures are set long before you meet them. It is futile and arrogant to think you can roll in and change their core values. Protect your own cognitive load. Make your decisions based on the facts in front of you, creating the vital mental space required to stay detached in high-pressure environments. Command your voice, own your physical space, and refuse to surrender to provocateurs. True resilience is found in the discipline of the professional mask. By mastering your own regulation, you become untouchable.